Hello and welcome to a sporting discussion live, talking sports of all sorts. I'm AJ Mithen, joined again by Andrew Jonathan. Andrew, welcome.
G'day, sports of all sorts. I love sport. I have three sports going on the TV next to me. I've got Melbourne Storm against Manly. I've got the Bowls Premier League, and I've got Monday Night Raw. Last Monday's Monday night edition of Monday Night Raw, which is awesome. Wrestling's the best.
One of them counts as a sport, and thank you for instantly dating the audio version of this that people can listen to through whatever podcast provider they like to get onto. And if you are watching us live, you are either on our YouTube channel or you're on facebook.com/a sporting discussion, or you're on at ASD_radio on Twitter. Now, a reminder, if you are watching on Twitter, you need to send us a comment or a DM because your live comments don't come through to the live show. And if you're listening to the audio after downloading last week, we've got some good numbers on last week's show, Andrew, which is very, very positive. We love you. We love you all. Subscribe, like, share. Tell your friends. That's the biggest part. Whether it's to say, listen to these two dickheads who don't know what they're talking about. We're all for that. That's okay. A hate click is still a click, as we say in the classics.
Yes.
Get on board.
Or to listen to me date it by doing some live commentary of the Melbourne Storm, Manly Sea Eagles. First half, 30 minutes to go. No, I won't do that.
Might as well say what the score is now that we've gone down the path.
6-0.
To who?
6-0. I'm not going to tell you who. Melbourne.
All right.
And Tweedheads in Tasmania have just started in the Bowls Premier League. The Bowls Premier League is one of my genuine favourite competitions. They do 2 per year now.
Well, you can put that away. You can put that positive talk away, Andrew, because we're talking what's annoying people this week. Letting people get it off your chest, tell it like it is. What's annoying you about sport at the moment? We haven't done one of these for a moment, an expression session. So we'll see how it
took me a while. It took me a while to come up with things. I'm too positive, AJ.
Well, it took me about 10 seconds, and it took the good folks who follow us on at ASD_radio on the Twitter or Facebook.com/sporting discussion got into it as well. So let's commence. Let's go you first. What's your first one? The first thing that is annoying you, it's got your goat. It's giving you the irrits, giving you the shites. What's number one, Andrew?
So it's something that we've talked about a lot. It's not going to come as a surprise. And the AFLW new season, new certified bargaining agreement was released last week, which had some good points. Not going to deny that there are some positives in that. It's a 1-year bridging agreement because the league and the Players Association wanted a 3-year one, but they couldn't come to terms on what the season would look like, how much.
Every AFLW agreement's been 1 year, hasn't it?
No, the previous one was
2.
3 years.
3.
2020 to 2022. Yeah, so they've previously had one. I think they had one previous 1 year one, but it's got a 94% pay increase across all of the different payment tiers, which is excellent. But there's only
why are you annoyed? Why are you angry? Why is this frustrating?
Oh no, I'm getting to that. I'm going to tell you the good things and then why it's not good enough.
Okay. So how about it then?
Tier 1 players, there's only 2 of those. So only 2 players in each team actually get paid what you could call a decent living wage for a professional sports person. So they get $71,935. There are additional payments that clubs can make. That's much like a lot of things in the AFL. It's not clear what they are and how they get paid and how they get reported. There's no additional match fees for players. So whilst a tier 4 player gets just under $40,000, and it's said that it's in line with a rookie contract in the men's competition. Yeah, it is. But in the men's competition, if you play a game, you get a match fee, you get a match payment, and in the women's game, you don't. So there's 16 players out of the 28 on the list, out of the 30, on the list, that don't get their matches on top of that $40,000. The expansion sign-in period, there's 4 new teams. All of the teams have not signed players until the Monday just gone, but they have had players commit to wanting to play for them. So Maddie Prespakis from Carlton said that she would commit to playing for Essendon. Erin Phillips from Adelaide said she would commit to play for Port Adelaide. They weren't allowed to sign until the formal expansion signing period on the 24th of May. But even then...
But that happens in a lot of sports.
Yeah, but the AFL did not... But they said there are 4 new teams. They didn't say you're going to be able to sign X number of players from the existing teams. This is the compensation that'll be for losing to an existing team. And even now, they've come out as an article that says that players will be given a points value. The number of players, you can lose a certain number of players from each team to the expansion teams, but only to a level, and your compensation will be based on the points value of those players. There's no indication of how those players get given points. So
that's very AFL, isn't it? To have a very opaque reimbursement system for
absolutely
good players going one way and nothing coming back the other way.
Yep. The season's got to have 10 home and away rounds when there's 18 teams, and there was no consideration of increasing that. The AFL wanted 3 years of 10 matches, which is why it's only a 1-year bridging agreement, because the players have gone, no, buggy, we're working towards full season, full-time 2026. The AFL is still sticking to 2030. So basically the AFL have come out and said, yeah, we totally support women's footy. Look at all that we're doing, but my God, there's a heap more that still needs to be done. So
we spoke about
wave the flag and say you're great, but come on.
When they announced the 2030 women's football strategy, the AFL, it was pretty obvious that they were kicking the can as far down the road as it could be tolerated, which is unlike the AFL, I say sarcastically. It's unlike them to put a sheen on something that they say is something, but it's actually something else.
It's just annoying. It's
well, that's why we're here tonight. Get it off your chest. Do you feel better for that one?
No, I don't. It just frustrates me. But the thing is, I can't even be bothered equating it to other things that the AFL pays lip service to. Like, it's just it shits me. It's terrible. Just get on with it.
What's the solution? What's the solution then? And where do they get the money?
There's a shitload of money in the game. There is a heap of money being thrown around to all of the different expansion clubs. There's money being thrown around to every single men's, almost every single men's AFL club. I think there's only 3 maybe that don't get a handout from the AFL. The money's there. Just get it going, and just, they've got so much that they do they do really well in the pathways. The amount that they
do you reckon they should be canning the August start of this year and have a proper match the men's season next year? Or do you want them to go from August into October into November-ish when cricket starts taking everything over?
Yeah, I think that the August start to this season is not great, but it's a product of where it's been in the calendar previously. It needs to be a full season that runs alongside the men's competition.
All right.
It just does. It's a March or an April to September event.
Yeah. And it's simple enough to do curtain raises if there's 18 teams for 18 teams. But anyway, we will move on. Do you feel, I know you don't feel
better. That's fine. I don't feel better.
Do you feel unburdened?
No, not at all. Not at all. Let's go to you and see if you can sort of get some catharsis. What's your thing that you want to get off your chest?
This has been giving me the shits for years and years and years and years and years. And it's sports journos, using air quotes, who don't know anything about any sport outside of their favourite one, like AFL, for example, or rugby league, or even basketball or something like that. And Aussie TV is flooded with these types who, if you ask them a question about the NBL or something else, they wouldn't have a clue what you were talking about, because it's all AFL all the time, or it's all NRL all the time, or it's all something else all the time. And if you're good at your job, you're able to talk about all sorts of different things. And remember, this general being shittiness about this is why we started a sporting discussion in the first place. because there are a lot of sports that just were being flat out ignored because the journalists just didn't know anything about them. And even worse, they didn't care to check or learn about them. They might have enjoyed themselves. Who knows?
So do they need to? Would be my question.
Well, if someone
is a cricket beat journalist, do they need to know about the NBL and report on the NBL?
Not if they're a cricket beat journalist, but if they are a sports reporter.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about here. If they're, basically there is a different aspect to respond to that, though, in that they don't really need to, because the industries are so big. The cottage industries around individual sports now are so big. In particular, I'll use AFL as the example. There's more journalists covering the AFL than there are players in the AFL at the moment. And the AFL's very own website employs something like 150 AFL journos who are all singing, all breathing AFL, which is fair enough because that's for them. They work for the website. But outside of there, you'd hope there'd be a bit more understanding scope, trying to push stories and those sort of more interesting things outside of, what's his name, fell over and, he was outside this club and, it's really exciting.
So I reckon there's two elements. There is, and that's sort of what I was getting at when talking about the specific beat journos compared to the broader sort of sports reporter, or like a panel show where they meant to talk about sports of all sorts. If you are on let's talk about panel shows, a sport-specific panel show, so an NRL panel show, and there are often throwaways about other sports and comparisons to other sports. And there are people who just have absolutely no idea about what they're talking about. But then there is...
I would argue some of the people on the panels don't know a whole lot about the actual sport they're supposed to be talking about. They're living on past glories, and they don't need, they don't bother doing the research.
Fair call. But I think the other one is the broader panel shows, and you can even just talk about newspapers in general, because newspapers should be reporting on everything, that have a focus of just a very narrow focus. So on the major sports, the major codes, as in the ones that always get the coverage, the ones that have all the money pumped into them, which is why they're able to flood the market with all of their coverage. How do we then make sure that, let's talk about the Australian Baseball League and what's it called? Like the summer series or the winter series, the series that had been going on this year, which was in lieu of the competition. Like how do things like the baseball get appropriate coverage, both in and of themselves and amongst other sporting journals?
They don't, is the short question. They don't, because
but how?
The journos who do work on the Australian Baseball League, I've spoken to quite a few of them, pitch the stories to the editors who say either no flat out, or can you hook an AFL team into it, or can you do something like that? So that's what it's up against, to try and get it through the establishment, man. But this is a good one because we've been contacted by Ian Harkin on Twitter, who said what's annoying him about sport at the moment is not really sport, but the coverage of sport, the endless coverage of AFL and NRL, and all the panel shows discussing the most inane and ridiculous subjects in those sports. Then the way those discussions are promoted, so the panelists become the news rather than the players, which is the self-sourcing pudding, snake eating its own tail. Particularly, we'll use the AFL again because it does it so well. The NRL does it too, where they've got just basically News Limited journos yelling at each other on a desk, and then for the next few days they'll report about how those journos yelled at each other over the desk and what the reaction was on social media and all that sort of thing. So they basically, do they have to, Andrew? They probably don't, because there's just so much crap out there that they can just shovel away at.
Well, yeah,
and that's what annoys me the most.
That's fair enough. I went straight to solutions focus rather than just letting you get it off your chest, so I apologize for that. But I just want to know how it can get better.
Well, the solution at the moment seems to be fan-made or people-made content, because especially for things like the Super Netball or the Baseball League or the NBL, the A-League, Aussie football in particular, a lot of the high engagement things now are coming from fans, coming from groups that do it themselves. It's not coming from the media covering the games, because it's just not there. Even Channel 10, who cover the A-League, give it absolute scant attention anywhere. And so it's people have decided to take it into their own hands and say, well, to heck with all of this, we'll just make our own thing and talk about it and talk about games and everything else. And yeah, that seems to be where it's going. The shift has gone from your regular sports media over into that podcast, videos, self-made content creators, and all of that sort of thing.
And it's because it's not because a reason could be that people consume media very differently than they used to. People don't just need to go and buy a newspaper or sit down at 6 o'clock to watch the news. I still remember when I was playing under 14s, under 16s football, one of the guys that I played with, so this is in the mid 1990s, he had an alarm on his like Casio watch, which went off at 6:21 every day, because that was when the Channel 10 sports report was on the news. So if you wanted to find out what happened, you had to sit down at 6:21 and watch it. And if you missed it, then you would 5:21. It was when they went first at 5. So 5:21 or whatever it was. It was like you just didn't see it. So whereas now people are consuming in such a different way, which means it doesn't matter where the content's coming from. It doesn't matter who's producing the content. It's instead of I'm going to read the newspaper, it is I'm going to read something on my phone, my tablet, my laptop. And it doesn't matter where that comes from. It doesn't have to be from the traditional sources. So it's that you're right.
That's a good thing that comes out of this. Now, just a reminder before we flip to your next one, Andrew, you are watching and listening to a sporting discussion, talking sports of all sorts. If you're on Twitter at ASD_radio or Facebook.com/a sporting discussion, or search for a sporting discussion on YouTube. If you're watching us now, pop a comment in. We'll have a chat about it and whack it up on the screen. It'd be good fun. All right, Andrew, what else are you? I feel like we're making progress here. I feel like we're making some progress. Maybe we need to think less solution focused and just get it out there. Just let the anger flow into the universe. So what's your next one?
Not who I am, AJ. I'm gonna go on from one thing that you mentioned there, and that was the A-League and the Channel 10 sort of coverage or lack thereof. But this week, Barcelona played the A-League All-Stars. 70,174 people went along, right? Earlier this year, Australia played Japan in a World Cup qualifier, and there was about 41,582 people there. We have a grand final this weekend, Western United versus Melbourne City. How many people do you think are going to go to that game? Not how many people are going to be registered and reported as being there. How many actual people are going to go? Because I'm concerned.
There's more people who listen to our show and watch our show than will be at the A-League Grand Final. But
I'm super concerned.
For context for that, Western United's in it. And Western United have no fans. None.
Well, yeah, Western United have
they were put in
no
for
home stadium.
Television. They have no home stadium. They have no home training facilities. They were added at the behest of the broadcaster, who wanted one extra team in Melbourne and one in Sydney, regardless of the benefits, community and social and financially, in places like Wollongong and Canberra and those sort of things. So that's where they've ended up. They're actually quite a good team, but it's just no one cares. They've got their active support group is like 100 people.
Yeah,
Melbourne City aren't that much better.
No, I was going to say that it's not just Western United. Melbourne City just don't get a huge crowd to them either. I'm fascinated to see how it goes. But what the hell is going on when there are so many people? We've said it before. There's so many people in Australia that love football. There's so many people that watch the EPL. They get up in the middle of the night to watch the EPL. People will watch La Liga. People will watch all various European football leagues, and they just simply will not watch the A-League.
You've just answered your own question. It's the Euro snobs. Ever since the A-League
is
started.
It?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Surely the people can at least put that behind them and watch, or do they genuinely just watch and go, oh, well, this is terrible. I can't possibly watch this piece of trash.
Yeah, people genuinely watch the A-League and go, well, this isn't as good as the Premier League.
No shit, dickhead.
Yeah.
Oh.
What do you think? What do you think it is? And as for the Socceroos, there's some context around that because the Socceroos are garbage at the moment. And they were, let me try to remember, if they couldn't beat Japan, then they were going straight to the playoff. And there was no way they were going to beat Japan because Japan are a lot better than Australia. People decided to save their money for the Barcelona A-League All-Stars
or
extravaganza.
The Manchester United versus Crystal Palace, the Manchester United versus Melbourne Victory, both of those at the MCG.
Or the Celtic and other one that's going to be on in Sydney. Now, as a defence, did watch that game. It was pretty good. It was good fun.
Is that because they were good?
Barcelona.
Is that because there were European footballers on one side, so one side was actually talented and worth watching?
No, the A-League team was actually really good, and they unearthed a fantastic 17-year-old.
17-year-old, yeah. I say that tongue firmly planted in my cheek, but this is not a new thing. This is something I mentioned last week, that a bloody 1 hour infomercial on Clive Palmer's United Australia Party outrated an A-League match that was on Saturday night, which is a final. And I don't know.
Garain Kowal, the 17-year-old from the Central Coast Mariners, tore him apart, nearly scored twice. He's going to be huge. And he was on display last night for the A-League All-Stars, which was quite good.
Yeah, get out of here with your positivity. I don't want that. We don't want that. No, look. What can they do? I don't want an answer because I'll be here forever. But bloody hell, just do so. Hey, you know what? Put it on free-to-air television. There's an idea. Have it during the season, accessible on free-to-air TV. And then when it's on free-to-air TV, don't go to an ad break when someone's about to score a goal. You drips.
Oh, don't get me started on that. We spoke about that a couple of weeks ago. We've had more contact from Ian Harkin, who is at SportsNut with a Z67 on Twitter. Can I just say I have no idea who or what Western United is. They seem to be just a soccer team without any real brand or identity. The publicity and promotion of the A-League is zero. When you just first mentioned it now, that's when I even knew the grand final was even on. So there you go, Andrew. We should be taking a check from the A-Leagues.
But that is something that is lamented by football fans, by Australian football fans, 3 weeks out from every single A-League season. It's where's the promotion? Where's the promotion? Where's the anything? And it's not just this year. But the last genuine promotion that I can remember was that weird one where they had the young kid and who's he going to support, and eventually he supported Melbourne City.
Yoshi. Who's Yoshi going to support? That was when Tim Cahill played. Yeah. Who's Yoshi going to support? And it was Melbourne City.
That's it. That is the only pre-A-League, like pre-season advertising that they've done of
so your
any
solution
magnitude.
is your solution's more kids, more indecisive kids.
The solution to all of it is more kids, always.
Well, not everything, Andrew.
Get Yoshi.
All right.
Follow Yoshi. Instead of 7-Up, do Yoshi Up. Every year, follow Yoshi.
He's probably a Euro snob who was at the Barcelona game in a half and half scarf.
And that's fine. Let's find out why. Let's find out why Yoshi has become a Euro snob.
Yeah, we might need to get someone in to talk about Euro snobs and the A-League and all of that. Andrew, I will look into that as we move along. But next, what's yours? What's your next one? Have you got any more?
No, that was. I've got another one. I've got the. I'm going to keep going. One of them I've got a reasoned discussion to have, and one of them I can just go, you're a bunch of fucking dickheads again. Crowd violence. Crowd
Oh.
violence. This time, so last week, it was the NRL. This week was the AFL. 50 people were evicted from the Dreamtime at the G game. And the number of people I saw commenting on articles going, oh, it's because it was a night game. I mean, you've got to expect people to be there. No. I've been at the football with no alcohol in my system. I have been at the football with prohibitive levels of alcohol in my system that no one should be consuming. And
number of punch-ons you've engaged in?
Zero. A big fat zero. It is not the alcohol that causes fights. It is the dickheads, that fight that cause fights. I've
always the dickheads.
Enough. But you roll out the Boxing Day test evictions a couple of times a year, and you sort of
they're just lovable larrikins. Yeah, lovable larrikins.
Jovially, like, sort of wiped off. Oh, these guys, they were just having a bit of fun, weren't they? Yeah, having a bit of fun. Fuck off. Just honestly, if you want to come to a sporting competition, a sporting game, and start a fight, stay at home, get yourself a stubby holder and throw it at the TV every time that you get angry enough that you can't deal with your own emotions in any other way than to cause physical violence. Like,
going out's not for you.
If you are such a simpleton that you can't recognize that you are the problem with society, then just fuck off. Stay away from...
You're up and about today.
As I said,
I think we found something you're actually angry, you're actually passionate about.
Dickheads.
No dickheads.
No dickheads. And the thing is, I don't even need to say much more about it. Hey, there's fights in the crowds. Don't fucking do it.
Well, let me lead on from there. Because one of the most annoying things that came out of all of that crowd violence, aside from the dickheads, aside from the poor bugger who got attacked at the front of the ground at the MCG, aside from all of the fights that happen all the time, it's people trying to blame it on umpires and referees. How moronic do you have to be to try to blame fights in the crowd on the freaking umpires? How stupid do people have to be to think that that's... and I was reading other things to think, crowds are down because people don't like the umpires. Total bullshit.
That's not true.
Crowds are down because there's things to do everywhere these days and people don't want to get sick and die on top of it. But yes, it's not the umpires. It's never the umpires. And people who go through their life just refs faulting, I like to call it, who think that the umpires, the referees, the match officials, whoever it is, they're responsible for everything that's bad about a game. You're a fucking moron. God, it drives me crazy.
AJ, didn't you know that in every single sporting competition that I follow, the officials are biased against my team and my team only? Did you know
and
that?
They don't know the rules. They don't know the rules either.
No, they don't. None of them know the rules. None of the officials know the rules, and they deliberately target my team. And it's no other team. When we lose, it is the officials' fault. When we win, it's in spite of their cheating.
You're rising above the officials trying to screw you over. We've just had a comment through for facebook.com/sporting discussion from Richard Volko. Says, can they have a mosh pit or a cage for all the ferals to smooch each other? I love it. Smush each other, sorry.
Unfortunately,
they used to have that. It used to be called the Hill. It used to be called
the
Bay 13.
Enclosure.
The animal enclosure. That was Moorabbin, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
At least it was contained, though. I think Richard might be onto something. A dickhead section and a no dickhead section.
Yeah. Well, so the umpire stuff is hilarious. Cricket is one of my favourites. With the DRS, the decision review system brought in, it's shown that umpires are right 95% of the time. Yeah. And people still just go, oh, it's completely outrageous. This is wrong. That's not out. Well,
And
No,
players
objective.
make errors. Some players make errors 75% of the time on a given week. If everything goes bad enough.
Yeah, like you look at, I'm watching. I'll look over to the rugby league, and I just now have seen something which I wanted to point out: set completion. No, so Melbourne Storm did not complete that set because of an error. Is everyone going to be up in
refs.
arms?
So refs, mate.
The players make no errors. They are above, making errors. But umpires, officials, referees.
When I'm talking to someone about sport, and all of a sudden they start talking about how the referees are either screwing their team over or they're no good and they're ruining the spectacle, that's when my brain, it's the cow in the hammock swinging back and forward to just music, because that person has nothing intelligent to say left. They may even be a very famous doctor, but yes, it's just someone playing. Yeah.
They got monkey clapping the cymbals.
Monkey clapping the cymbals in their head. Yep. People who are refs faulters are just complete clowns. Complete clowns. Oh,
yeah.
Drives me crazy. We've had another one come through Facebook, Andrew, from Paddy Bordia. Right now, the football and NBA season is about to end, and I'm struggling. I need sports and specifically good podcasts to fill the gap. And what's the best AFL one? Sorry, Paddy, I can't help. I don't listen to AFL.
I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the best AFL podcast is the Hardball Gets podcast. It's the West Australian, or I think it's the West Australian, or the West. It's WA based, but they don't just focus on the WA teams. It is panels better than any other AFL based podcast. So listen to that one.
Okay. What was it called?
Hardball Gets. Xavier Ellis is one of them on it. He's excellent, and like Nick Ryan, Ryan Daniel. So it's brilliant. They put out on Monday or Tuesday. It's called the 2-minute warning. They do 2 minutes on each team, and then on Thursday they do 6 points leading into the round. Don't bother with any others because the rest of them are trash.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts aren't very good, as we can say.
Hey, look, we're not very good at some of the time either. So
now we got another one during the week on Twitter at ASD_radio from Dan Jarvis, and just a bit of a lead on from the NBA one Paddy was talking about there. Dan is talking about how trash the entire NBA playoffs have been. All games are practically unwatchable after quarter time, and for the neutral fan, it's turning me away.
There've been blowouts, or there's been a lot of blowouts, hasn't there? I'm not a massive
flip-flopping blowouts. Flip-flopping. Take the Boston versus Miami series that's going on at the moment. They've been flipping like 30-point margins from game to game, which is, well, it's home court advantage. This team's not carrying it. Team's blowing out early, and the other one just going, forget it. We'll have a home game next time. But it's also teams being much better than each other.
So is that an issue with best of 5, best of 7 series? There's not enough value placed on individual games that you can just go, bugger it, we'll get them next time.
Yeah, but at some stage, if it's a home court game and you start getting beaten on, you've got to think, well, geez, we might need to try and turn this around. But it's kind of, they're giving up on games earlier.
Okay.
They're saying, all right, well, this is far gone. We'll conserve our energy.
Is that because they're snowflake millennials?
Probably. With coaches who are too scared to tell them how it is.
Yeah. Just give them a clip around the ear. I've got one. I've got another one that's just annoyed me, and it is in the cricket, the women's IPL being continually left out at the expense of a stupid 4-match 3-team exhibition competition. The women's T20 challenge that is going on at the moment. There's been 3 previous seasons. You've seen what happened in Australia and England and New Zealand as well with their T20 competitions. Every country that gets a T20 competition in the women's game sees an increase in the number of quality players available to play in the national T20 game, because there are more in the domestic game and there's more that have a pathway to go through. The Women's Big Bash League is brilliant. The Kia Super League and now the Women's 100 is great because it gives so many people the opportunity. The IPL, the BCCI have the money. They have the infrastructure. They also apparently have a really, really positive effort to want to. They've said that, so at a recent meeting of the IPL, a decision was taken that efforts will be made to start a franchise-based annual T20 tournament for women cricketers from 2023.
Oh, that's big of them.
Efforts will be made to start considering. Like,
we'll totally think about maybe wanting to do something down the road at some point. Maybe, yeah. Don't push us though. Don't push us.
No,
we're going as fast as we can.
There just needs to be so much more respect given in the female cricket world. Like, even going right down to the associate nations. So the last World Cup, one of the the qualifying events, Thailand were doing very well and were highly likely to qualify for the World Cup. And then COVID hit that competition. And so the ICC, in their infinite wisdom, said, "Oh well, let's forget about that series, that competition, that pre-qualifying tournament, and let's just go with the top teams via the current ranking, the current team ratings." So not only did that mean that Thailand couldn't go into the World Cup, it essentially meant that they were then shut out of moving up the team ratings, the team rankings, because they're not playing any games. They're not able to gather
improving
points.
Their international station,
yeah, and they can't get more ranking points to go up and then play against other teams. And it is a complete just abrogation of responsibility by the ICC, and the BCCI have just got such a big lever to push female participation across the world, not just in India, but they just don't want to do it. There's been 3 seasons of this.
Why not? Is it just because it's too much like hard work, or they sexist monsters, or what's the go?
Wouldn't have a clue. It's not been a priority for them because the IPL is there and the IPL is getting longer and it's making more and more money. There were more teams brought into the IPL this year, and
it is starting to get bigger and bigger, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge. I tried to.
How long until they try to run one parallel with the 100 or the WBBL or something like that?
Absolutely, yeah. So I did in my spare time, as I want to do, did up a spreadsheet of when all nations can hold cricket test match, one-day match series. So I went over the past 4 years to have a look at when they have, and there is a lot of time available. But the problem is there needs to be time carved out, so a month carved out for a World Cup, a month carved out then for a T20 World Cup. There needs to be 6 weeks carved out now for the IPL. Then you've got to think of the Big Bash and WBBL, and then you got the 100. And with all of those domestic competitions taking up time and space in the calendar, where do you put international cricket, and how do the associate nations in particular start to get more and more better teams? Because there's only so many days in the year, and there's a lot more money playing in the IPL than there is playing in other competitions. So like you see Tim David, I think he got bid $1.6 million. He then played, I think it was the first 2 games for his franchise, didn't necessarily set the world on fire. So they left him out for the next 5 or 6 games and then brought him in, and he just went absolutely bonkers and did what Tim David does, which is hit 40 off 12 balls. And that's why you get him in. It doesn't work every time. So yeah, so long. There's a lot of pieces in there, but
I was wondering why Tim David entered that conversation. But anyway.
because I like just talking about cricket. But my thing is the BCCI needs to get fair income about a women's IPL, because there is so much talent that is available both within India and around the world that's going to be the kickstart for such an increase in participation, and then brilliant cricketers being able to come through and make the international game even better than it currently is.
All right. Well,
have you got another one to get off your chest?
No,
maybe with less swearing than my crowd behaviour one.
No, the crowd behaviour one got the job done. I reckon. I reckon that was dearie mate. Crowd dickheads, refs falters. That they drive me crazy. Those types. That's probably that, and the not covering sport properly shits me as well. But I feel slightly better having projected this to the universe, and I'm sure some deity will pick it up and go, you know what, the Australian Baseball League does need more coverage, and I will strike down any editor who tries to work an AFL reference into it.
Well, and which team could Dave Nilsson have played for? If Dave Nilsson was available,
was a
who would he
coach?
Team?
I've just before you go, I've just received a text message from a Chrissy who says that what annoys her at the moment is having a husband laid out for months because of a sporting injury.
Would
I think I know Chrissy, who that is.
You were on the exercise bike earlier today, though.
I had my boot on and everything.
Yeah, you're getting up and about.
I can feel my legs swelling. Pretty soon, like in about a fortnight, I think I can go in sneakers.
Oh wow!
Which was going to feel bizarre. Anyway, have you got everything off your chest? Have you got everything off your chest?
I've got one. I got one more actually, and it's to do with the Australian Baseball League. And I want the Melbourne Aces to stop ignoring me when I suggest that they should run a courtesy bus from a bar in the city in Melbourne out to the Altona ballpark, because.
For those who don't know, the Melbourne Aces Australian Baseball League ballpark is Melbourne Ballpark, which is where they played Olympic baseball back in the day, and it is about half an hour's drive outside of the Melbourne Central Business District. So Andrew has long petitioned them to have a shuttle bus that goes from the main Spencer Street station to the ballpark, but it is yet to happen. Maybe this year's the year.
And it's because when we were living in Canberra, the ACT Brumbies had shuttle buses from a pub in the city, a pub in the south, and a pub in the north. And it would take you to the game, and then it would take you back. So, and it might have even been organised by the bar themselves. So it's just, it's got to be done, because
just
getting there from customer service, and because also it's not like the MCG where you can just get off the train and walk for 3 minutes and you're there. Yeah. It's a 10-15 minute walk from Laverton Station or North Laverton Station or whatever. So yeah, come on, Melbourne Aces. That's my last little one.
All right, we're going to start to wrap it up there then. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everyone, for being in touch and giving us your frustrations and your angst. I hope you feel better having shed. I don't know if I do, but I think maybe. I'll sleep on it and I'll see how I go. Remember, if you have more sporting angst you wish to unload, you can do it on Twitter at ASD_radio. You can go to facebook.com/a sporting discussion. You can come to me at AJMithen on Twitter, or you can go to Andrew at Dono79 on Twitter as well. Always good fun. We enjoy the cut and thrust and some angst and just downloading, I think the kids call it these days.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of negativity in the comments section of whatever sporting code you follow, whether it be an article written about it or even like a match report. And I don't like to get into reading those, but I do, and I find it cathartic reading it and just going, there it is. There's the person who said it was the ref's fault. It's like, there it is. There's the person who said keep politics out of sport. I'm like, oh, okay. And my favorite
said things like how they're going to pay the women when they're not bringing in any money.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on
that's
that.
For another time.
And one of my favorite things about the people on social media with their keep politics out of sport is the majority of them would be all about putting a poppy on their whatever it is, their profile picture on Anzac Day and saying, yeah, it's great that the Essendon and Collingwood are respecting our Anzacs. So that's not political? Cool. Good on you.
And on that chirpy note, we will speak to you next week. Remember, at ASD_radio on Twitter, Facebook, Sporting Discussion. We're available everywhere you get your podcast. Remember, share, rate, review. We did pop up back into the podcast charts this week, Andrew, which was good fun. Always good fun. We love everyone getting in touch with us. Tell us what it is. Tell us how it is. Tell us how it isn't. It's always good fun. Until next time, this has been a Sporting Discussion, talking sports of all sorts. See you later, everybody.
See ya.